ya valió, ya lo ganaba. Ya lo van a descalificar seguramente.
When he's not smashing rackets at the umpire's chair, Alexander Zverev is getting heckled while delivering a speech at the Australian Open. He would go on to lose the final in straight sets to Jannik Sinner. It's Sinner's second straight Australian Open, his third Grand Slam title. But why was Zverev heckled exactly? Well, it's quite simple, because of past DV allegations.
Before your speech, someone shouted out, "Australia believes Olga and Brenda." I'm just curious what your reaction is to that, and what your reaction is to people who believe the domestic violence accusations against you.
I think there are no more accusations. There haven't been for 9 months now. Look, good for her. I think she was the only one in the stadium who believed anything in that moment, so if that's the case, good for her. I think I've done everything I can, and I'm not about to open that subject up again.
Zverev wisely is not speaking on it. Here are the details, and I'd just like to say, we should issue a trigger warning for what I'm about to go through because of the content of allegations against him. So, former tennis player Olga Sharypova and model Brenda Patea are two former girlfriends of Zverev who have spoken out against him. First with Sharypova. She took to Instagram in 2019 writing the following. "I was a victim of DV the first time this happened at the beginning of a relationship. There was a quarrel, and I got hit with my head against the wall with so much power that I sat on the floor. She goes over questioning herself on why she did not leave the relationship before. It came down to love," she would explain. She goes on, "In August of that year, I ran out of the hotel barefoot. I was standing in the streets of New York City and didn't know where to go or what to do. They tried to choke me with a pillow, hit my head against the wall, twisted my hands, and at the moment, I was really afraid for my life. This was far from the first and not the last situation." She'd go on. "Relationships with abusers is not news now, but when you're in them, it's very difficult for you to get out of them. How did I get out of them? This is a separate story that I will tell later." She would send photos of the evidence to her inner circle, showing the abuse that she suffered. Ben Rothenberg, whose work we featured last week when we covered the Ben Shelton story, was working then for Racket Mag. He saw them firsthand, wrote Fox Sports. While Zverev would claim that everything she's saying is unfounded and untrue, Sharypova sat down with Rothenberg when the time was right. She said there was another incident, a second incident in Geneva, where he abused her. Sharypova said she injected herself with insulin in an attempt to end her life. Quote, "I didn't want to live anymore." Racket Mag took down the article from Rothenberg. We'll revisit that in a moment. It would later be posted on Slate. She'd add, quote, "We had another fight, and in that fight he punched me in the face for the first time. In other fights he was pushing me, shoving me, twisting my arms, choking me. But this was the first time he punched me, really punched me. When he left the room, it's really hard to talk about because it really was hell. I'm going to start talking about this and I want to finish. I want to say this and then forget about this. After this fight, he left the room and I was dying. I was emotionally dying." Important to note. The ATP, or Association of Tennis Professionals, the men's governing body, hired an outside firm. A 15-month investigation took place, and they concluded that Zverev would not be punished at all. They did not make their findings public, which feels very NFL-like for the ATP. Hey guys, quick break in the action. I have a new show coming out called The Rick Strom Show. It is going to be awesome. I'm interviewing musicians, athletes, producers, writers, journalists, authors, sports doctors. Go check it out at youtube.com/@TheRickStromShow. Also be sure to throw me a follow on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky. It can all be found in the description box below. Thank you. Then in 2023, Patea filed a lawsuit against Zverev, stemming back to his alleged abuse of her in 2020 in Berlin. She is the mother of his child. Rothenberg reported her case moved quite slowly through the legal system in Berlin. In an interview with German newspaper Süddeutsche Zeitung, she detailed Zverev pushing her against a wall, another theme it appears, in an Airbnb and choking her. Per the German outlet, she had pain in the throat and neck area, and she had difficulty swallowing. A German court would fine Zverev 450,000 euros, which is roughly about 475,000 American dollars. Responding to that fine, Zverev stated bluntly, I think it's complete bull blank. Anybody that has a semi-standard IQ level knows what this is all about. Because Zverev contested the allegations, they went to trial in May of 2024, though the next month a settlement would be reached. The court would state the decision is not a verdict, and it is not a decision about guilt or innocence. One decisive factor for the court decision was that the witness had expressed her wish to end the trial. The defendant agreed to the termination of the case. The number was then reduced to 200,000 euros to be paid. The other twist in this story is about the journalist Ben Rothenberg. He was sued in German court, where freedom of speech laws differ a lot from the U.S. to Germany. He has been outcast by some Grand Slams. He has had to cover his own legal fees after Racket Mag said that they would stop doing so. And he has seen his career change, to put it mildly. There's the Rothenberg angle is a bigger conversation that has to do with media in the year 2025 and how a lot of these companies, whether it is an ESPN who is letting go of journalists left and right for the hot take artists and big talkers form of content, and there are many journalists who are going independent, which is good. But it is also an indictment on the mainstream press. And considering what we have seen in the Rothenberg saga, it shows, especially with the ATP not making its findings known and being very closed when it comes to this case, you get the feeling that an organization wants to protect someone of this ilk who can be a world champion when it comes to the Olympics and a Grand Slams champion, instead of protecting those that are adjacently involved in their respective sport. It is bad what has happened to Ben Rothenberg. I'm glad that he has gone independent with his new venture, which I believe is called Bounces. We'll link to it in the description box below. He had a write-up on this as well. But to see so many different angles all go back to, in my view, protecting an asset instead of doing the morally responsible thing is troubling, to say the least. If you can and are willing, please become a paid member here at TYT Sports. And or go to tyt.com/join. In addition, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Appreciate it. Have a great day.